again are finding yourself in a relationship with an emotionally unavailable man, or even attracted solely to emotionally unavailable men, understand that this isn't just like fate, this is a pattern. And the good news is you can heal a pattern, but you can't heal it until you've identified it. And so there's a few reasons why women are subconsciously drawn to men who are emotionally unavailable. And I'm going to cover those in this video so you can identify if this resonates with you. And then the second half, I'm going to cover a step-by-step guide of how to heal this pattern. If you want to attract in aligned love, a healthy relationship, this is instrumental to changing the pattern of being magnetically drawn to emotionally unavailable men, and instead choosing men who feed your soul, choosing men who choose you, instead of constantly chasing after the man who doesn't like you, whose love you have to earn. There's a lot of validation involved in that. I have empathy, I'm not judging. But once you heal this pattern, you can choose again and finally have the relationship that you are seeking. So reason number one, understand that if you are drawn to emotionally unavailable men, it's likely because of your upbringing. If you grew up with an inconsistent parent or a hot and cold household that was very chaotic, your nervous system is now attuned to chaos, to people who don't choose you consistently. Our nervous system is always trying to keep us safe, trying to keep us surviving. And so what our nervous system sees as safe is what is familiar. Even if what is familiar is making you unhappy, it just wants to make sure you're safe and going to keep surviving. So if you're attuned, if you're used to chaos, now as an adult, your nervous system is going to choose a familiar hell. It's going to choose the guy who doesn't choose you because that's what's familiar and therefore safe. And this is why if your upbringing was up and down all the time, you had a parent who left in the middle of your childhood or who was inconsistent, hot and cold, now as an adult, you are likely magnetically drawn to men who also don't choose you, who are inconsistent, who are hot and cold. And you'll say with your words, I want a man who chooses me. But subconsciously, your actions show differently. You have to remember, your subconscious comes out in your actions. So even if you're saying, I want a healthy relationship, and that's what you're thinking, I want healthy love, you have to look at how you're acting. What is the pattern of your dating life telling you? If you're consistently choosing men who are leading on, 6, 7 women at a time, it's telling me a different story. And there's no shame here, you guys. We all have different childhoods. We all experience different upbringings. The thing I want to drive home about this is that if this is your story, if this feels true to you, it doesn't mean you're destined forever to date emotionally unavailable men. It means that you are being called by the universe to heal this pattern, to call in a different partner, go forward. And it starts with healing your nervous system. Once you heal your nervous system, you will start to choose different partners. And that's something I think is extremely empowering. You get to decide the love you have in your life. You hold the keys. It's not like we're sitting back and we're just waiting for a man to choose us. We're just waiting for healthy love to drop into our lap. No, we have control, we have power, and we can do the work to heal our nervous system to call in aligned love. And once you do this, I'll speak for myself. I did this years ago. I used to consistently choose men who were players, consistently choose men who didn't love me back and choose me. But once I started doing the steps I'm going to cover in the second half of this video, I started to become attracted solely to men who showed up for me. And then the guy who was like hot and cold, couldn't book the date, inconsistent, texting other women when we were together, that was disgusting. I no longer saw that as an opportunity to earn love. I no longer saw that as an opportunity to be good enough for him. I saw it as like, ew, that guy's not aligned with me. And I was drawn to men who consistently chose me. So all of you also hold that power. The second reason that you might be attracted to emotionally unavailable men is the chase, the anxiety associated with the chase feeds a lot of dopamine. So remember, dopamine is the reward hormone. We think about like a slot machine in Vegas. When you finally win, you get that dopamine rush and it feels euphoric for a moment. but then you're back into the wanting stage. And that's how it is with an emotionally unavailable man. You are missing him, you're wondering what he's up to, you're in the wanting stage, and then he texts you randomly, you get that dopamine rush, you're so excited. But then he disappears and you're back in the wanting stage. And this cycle just repeats and repeats. And what do you do in your head as a woman? You associate that dopamine rush, that euphoric feeling, with him. You think this loser guy who's being inconsistent, hot and cold, doesn't know how to return a phone call like a normal person. You think he's something so special because now you're addicted to the high and low roller coaster you're on with him. Let me state plainly, it is not that that emotionally unavailable man is special whatsoever. It is that you are stuck in this toxic cycle. And I would even say, if you're stuck in the toxic cycle, that is a sign that that guy is not for you. Because a guy who's consistent, a guy who shows up, there's peace in your life. You don't have the high and low roller coaster, so there's not as much dopamine involved. But Jesus Christ, you can go to bed and you can sleep soundly knowing that guy's not going to do you dirty, which is infinitely better. But you have to be aware that if you are used to the high and low roller coaster, a lot of times when you meet a guy who's consistent, you're like, he's boring. I don't like him. And it's because compared to the highs and lows, of course, he is a little boring, but I would say he's not boring, he's peaceful. So you have to be aware, like, this guy is using, this emotionally unavailable man is using dopamine to his advantage, getting you hooked, getting you in that cycle of seeking consistency from him. But anytime you are seeking a man to be something he's not, Lord knows, you are in for a rough ride, babe. And reason number 3 that you might be chasing after emotionally unavailable men is if you grew up in a household that rewarded you for certain behaviors. For example, if you got an A on your homework and your parents gave you a big hug and they told you how incredible you are, or you got a boyfriend and your parents were really proud of you, whatever, you likely associate that certain actions, certain behaviors make you worthy of love. And so then as an adult, how that plays out in your dating life is you think the guy who just chooses you off the bat, that can't be real love because you didn't earn it. Whereas the player who's dating like 6 women on rotation, you feel like you have to earn his love. You have to convince him to choose you. He doesn't just choose you off the bat. And that feels familiar. Now you get the opportunity to earn love, and therefore your mind associates it must be better. But we know, common sense, the guy who chooses you from the jump is going to be a better partner for you than the guy who has never had a girlfriend and has to talk to several women for his ego to feel good enough, whatever. So we need to be aware, that's step 1, aware of these beliefs. You don't have to earn love. You inherently as a human being are worthy of love. Right now, not when you lose 10 pounds, not when you get your hair done, whatever. Right now, you're worthy of love. And the right partner for you, a healthy partner, will see that. You won't have to convince him of your worth. You won't have to, play any games to make him think you're good enough. He will see you and pursue you from the jump. And anyone who's been in a relationship knows it's infinitely better to be pursued by a man, to have him be obsessed with you from the jump, than to be chasing after a man. I mean, that is like, you want to age quickly, chase after a man. It's 1, exhausting, and 2, once you get him, it's not worth it. I know when I was younger, I used to want to get the ungettable guy. I feel like that's a very common trope in romance novels, romance movies. It's like, this guy has never had a committed girlfriend, and he always was like the player, and he meets this one girl and she's so special that he finally commits to her. And while yes, there's a lot of validation associated with being the one, whatever, that he chooses, really look at it in common sense. That guy doesn't know how to be a boyfriend to her because he's never been a boyfriend. These are the guys who don't know to get you flowers on Valentine's Day because they've never been a boyfriend. They forget your anniversary. They drop the ball on your birthday. You want the guy who has had practice being a boyfriend. You want the guy who's not ungettable. You want the guy that you meet him, he knows how to court you, he knows how to treat you right, and he chooses you from the beginning. That's the guy who's going to be a healthy partner to you in the long term. So how to break the cycle. Here's a step-by-step guide of how to change the internal dialogue that is making you seek emotionally unavailable men to now only being attracted to emotionally available men. And I'm saying this as someone who did this in my personal life. Step number 1 is awareness. You have to really take a hard look at your dating life. All the men that you have dated in the past 10 years or however old you are, what is the common thread amongst them? Because you are the common denominator in all of these relationships. I do think there is this popular narrative that it's always men's fault. Men are trash. They suck. We hate them. But here's the thing. That's a very disempowering view on men. Because then as women, you're sitting back as the victim and you're not able to change the future of your dating life because you're just a victim. You're helpless. But you're not helpless. You are that bitch. And once you take responsibility for your dating life, then you are able to switch the narrative. Then you are able to choose again. Then you are able to show up differently in your relationships and your dating to get a different result. So if you have always attracted in emotionally unavailable men, if you've always chosen emotionally unavailable men, instead of being like, they're awful, they suck, be like, why did I choose them? This takes a lot of self-awareness. It's very vulnerable. Why did I want that guy who constantly told me he didn't like me, who constantly made me not feel good enough? There's no shame here. We all, have our own path to walk. I'm not judging any of you. And fuck knows, I've been there. But you can only change your future once you really acknowledge the decisions you've been making and where that's coming from. Assessing, like, where in my childhood was I not chosen that I now am choosing partners who don't choose me? Where did I learn that I had to earn love? And how can I rewire that belief to better serve me? So there's no judgment here, but you do have to take a hard look at your life, at your dating life, and decide, like, what are the patterns that I'm playing out subconsciously? A lot of times, remember, with your mouth, you're going to say, I want a great boyfriend. I liked him because he was incredible at the beginning. But you have to take a hard look at your actions. Once he cheated on you, did you go back to him? That would be an example. You're not going to outwardly say, I want a guy who treats me badly, but you accepted that treatment. So on some level, that's what you believe you're worthy of. Again, there's no shame here, but once you have awareness, then you're able to change the internal story to better suit your future. And then step 2 is to rewrite that story. You literally have to train yourself to be icked out by inconsistency. My hand to God, if an inconsistent man came into my life, I would have zero attraction. I no longer feel the need to prove myself to men. And you have to really rewire your brain to think that way. So even if I met an emotionally unavailable man who was like really attractive or whatever, I would feel that internally, and then my mind would step in and say, wait, am I attracted to him or the pattern? And then choose yourself in that moment. I only want a man who chooses me. And affirmations are key here. I am always chosen. I am worthy of love. Once you make these your internal record, you start to act in a different way than men who don't love you, men who mistreat you. Ew, it is gross, in my opinion. It is gross to allow men who have no intention of being a good partner to you to have access to your energy, your attention, your time, your body. Like, they have not earned the right to you because they're not treating you well. And so once you really foster self-love, that's like the basis of all of this, you no longer want a man who doesn't choose you. Think about your best friend who you love, and like, I think of my best friend, like, she probably deserves her own private island. Like, that's how incredible she is. If she came to me and was like, Carissa, I'm seeing this guy who is dating 6 other women, and he told me he was going to call me Saturday night and then didn't. And I saw on Instagram that he follows a bunch of Spicy Fans girls, but I think he's the one. What do you think? I would be like, that guy doesn't deserve to be within 10 feet of you. But look at, it's so much easier to accept that treatment within ourselves. So you really have to start treating yourself like you would your best friend. If it wouldn't be good enough for your best friend, then guess what, babe? It's not good enough for you. And once you have this filter of like, if I wouldn't want it for my best friend, then I don't want it for me, you start to rewire your standards. So you no longer look at emotionally unavailable men as like, oh, here's an opportunity for me to earn love and feel worthy and the validation and the dopamine associated with these players. You see it as like, oh, ew, an emotionally unavailable man who doesn't want to feed into my life. He doesn't want to feed my soul. He doesn't have good intentions for me. He literally just wants to drain my energy and resources. You're like, gross, don't come near me. And you start to raise the standard for men in your life. And that is when everything changes. So step number 3 to rewiring your nervous system. I hit on this at the beginning of the video, but if you are super attuned to men not choosing you or to inconsistent love, your nervous system will subconsciously seek that out. So you have to reattune it to healthy love, to men who choose you. So how do you do that? Meditation. It's really simple. Put on, soft music or whatever, sit in silence, whatever you like. Close your eyes and really visualize how it's going to feel when you have a partner who consistently shows up for you, who prioritizes you, who loves you as you are and accepts you as you are. You have to visualize it as real as possible so your body really gets used to the feeling of being chosen, of being loved, of being prioritized, of being desired. The more real it can be, the more your nervous system is getting used to that feeling. And literally, I would advise you guys to do this every single night if you really want to rewrite the narrative of your life. Every night, imagining your dream relationship, because then any guy who comes into your reality who's giving you breadcrumbs, you're like, that doesn't suit me. That doesn't fit with the relationship that I'm manifesting into my life. And it's not even just that you're like putting up a wall about it. It's like your body is rejecting that reality because it's becoming so used to the reality of a man who chooses you. And this is how you get your nervous system to work for you instead of against you. So just because you had an upbringing with, a dad who left or an inconsistent parent or whatever, it doesn't mean forever you're fated to have horrible relationships. We as women hold the power to change the future of our relationships. So it starts with these daily practices of being centered and consciously choosing the relationships we want in our life, not running on the default subconscious, because the default subconscious is just going to choose the same relationship over and over again. And that's how some women go through these cycles of basically dating the same man, new face. That's their subconscious is running the show. There's no awareness there. As soon as you have that awareness, you're doing these daily practices to center, then you get to choose again. And it's such a more empowering place to be as a human, as a woman. And the 4th step is really anchoring into your self-worth as a woman. It's not about being entitled, but it's about knowing that you are worthy of somebody who chooses you. And when you come from that place, you no longer see men who don't choose you as an opportunity to prove yourself. You literally become like repelled by men like that. And I feel like a lot of times online, people think it's like arrogant to love yourself. But once you love yourself, think of like, again, your best friend or like your daughter who you would love so much. You would not want your daughter to be with a guy who made her have to prove she was worthy. No, you're like, you are so lovable. You're so worthy as you are. And the person who's for you will see that from the jump. You won't have to convince them of your worth. Want the same for yourself. If you wouldn't want your daughter dating that guy, you have no business dating him yourself. And that's like, I know when I heard that a few years ago, I was like, oof, that hits a bit hard. But it will set you free. It will make it very clear whether or not the guy you're hung up on is right for you. And remember, like, wanting somebody who doesn't love you is not because they're so great. That's the easy assumption to make. It's like, this guy, he has so many options. I'm just one of them. No. Wanting a guy who doesn't want you back is simply a sign that you don't love yourself enough. Because when you love yourself wholeheartedly, you only want somebody who loves you back. Remember, reality is like a mirror. So if you are constantly seeking men who don't love you, it's because on some level you don't love you enough. And this isn't shame or judgment. This is a divine calling to rise up, love yourself deeper, and choose new partners. Because literally the partner that you have, the person you marry, that is going to change the trajectory of your entire life. There is no greater decision, not even my opinion, you guys, statistically, there's no greater decision you're going to make in your life than the partner that you marry. So it literally starts with loving yourself deeper, knowing you are worthy of healthy love, because once you think it, once you believe that, your actions will change. And I know this because this happened to me firsthand. When I was in my younger 20s, I constantly chose men who didn't choose me. And I wanted to prove I was worthy, and I wanted the validation, and I wanted to be good enough. And it literally took like a rock bottom moment of like the worst breakup of my life for me to be like, I hate myself, and I'm just really gonna focus on loving myself. And I swore off dating for a few months. I literally just focused on becoming the best version of myself. And like the come to Jesus moment was that the more I loved myself, the more I magnetized in amazing men. And now, as a 31-year-old woman, my hand to God, you guys, all of these gross men I used to attract, they're not even in my reality anymore because we don't vibrate at the same level. And that's what naturally happens when you love yourself. You only call in men who also love you. Only call in men who want to nourish you and make your life better. Like if I met a man who only wanted to use and abuse me or whatever, we wouldn't vibrate at the same level. Like I don't even meet men like that anymore because it's like they're so repelled because I've fostered such a deep sense of self-love. And again, it's not arrogance. It's not like I'm better than them. It's that I love myself and therefore I want better for myself. I want partners who build me up, not tear me down. So in closing, if you keep attracting in men who are mistreating you, men who are emotionally unavailable, it's not by chance. You are really being called by the universe. You're given an opportunity to heal deeper. I always tell my clients, everything is a call to heal by the universe. So if that's your reality, it's not that that's your fate forever to date men like this. Once you harness these tools, you work on yourself, you foster self-love, your reality will change. Your dating life will change. The men you attract in will change. I know this for a fact. It's not like if, and, or but. Like, fact. You do the inner work, you will see a different reality in your life. If you found these tips helpful, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel and book a one-on-one with me.